Welcome back to Creating Cooperative Kids. I'm your host, Bill Corbett. They are easily distracted, disorganized, high in energy, impulsive, and even irritable. You might be thinking that I'm just described many of us adults on some days, but I'm actually talking about kids with ADHD on most days. In fact, just about all the time. And parenting these kids can cause some caregivers to pull their own hair out at times. With me on the show today is Tracy Bromley Goodwin and Holly Oberacker, co-authors of the book Navigating ADHD, Your Guide to the Flip Side of ADHD. Welcome back.
Thank you.
So in the first segment, we talked about kind of what it is, label it, and the whole thing about why you created Navigating ADHD is to, and I love the cover of your book because it's like, let's get around the challenges and find the positives and the strengths in it, which is important. But what I want parents to know is, first of all, my favorite chapter of your book, and I read your book, by the way. My favorite chapter was chapter 3 because it actually identifies the importance of parents helping to raise children who have self-control. Parents don't even realize it. If you invest now, if you take the time to invest now, your life is going to be so much easier if you put the time up front to raise your children to become self-controlled rather than waiting for you to control them. And you had 6 specific strategies for raising a child with ADHD to develop that self-control in them because they need it. And the first one was preventing stress. So what about that?
Well, that's anticipating situations that can be stressful for your child. And, you know, if your child gets overwhelmed by big family functions, if your child gets overwhelmed by too much homework, you want to anticipate that and kind of pare it down. So in the homework situation, you want to pare it down to maybe 15-minute spurts. And if you're going to a big family function where there's going to be 50 people there and that's overwhelming, you want to prepare them. Who's going to be there and teach them to take breaks. You can take a 15-minute break. And
that's so important because we're usually flying by the seat of our pants, where we spend too much time in reactive parenting and not enough time in proactive parenting. See, that's why I love this. It's great. I'm out there on a campaign to try to get parents to just stop for a minute, back up one step, and think about what are the stressful situations and what can you do to counteract them. Like if your child is not good at doing their homework as soon as they get home, well, perhaps they need a break. But time it specifically so they know exactly when the homework does begin. The second one you talked about was establishing reliable routines.
Yeah. Children with ADHD really benefit from having routines that they can count on. Number one, they're safe. I mean, it's great to have routines that you just know you can count on. And then built into those routines is still having some flexibility. So if you're busy like many families and things are changing day to day, you still might have the same order of things. You know, that you're going to brush your teeth before you put your pajamas on, and then you're going to read a book, and then you're going to go to bed. So that there's just order so that children can count on it. And then they know themselves what that order is going to be, and they can prevent some of the chaos that sometimes happens with routines.
They function so much better with sameness.
Yes.
Things they can expect and things that they're looking for.
Absolutely.
The next one you talked about was intervening early.
Yes, and so that's understanding your child's triggers and understanding what can set them off and teaching them the self-awareness of what that is. One of our favorite strategies for that is teaching them on a number scale or a thermometer what their anger level is on a scale of 1 to 10. And so if they're recognizing that they're maybe at a 5 and they're heading towards really angry, really mad, you can say, you know what, you're at a level 5, let's take it down a notch. So it's teaching them the self-awareness of where their anger level is, because sometimes children with ADHD have 2 levels. It's mad and really mad. So if you can teach them that there really is some of that in-between gray area, it can prevent some of those outbursts.
And that's so good because what I like about that is it begins or works on the process of developing their emotional intelligence. Children who begin to become more in touch with how they're feeling are more likely to become an adult who can control their feelings or at least work with them so that they don't hurt others, themselves, or infringe upon others' rights.
Absolutely.
The next one you talked about was giving choices. Oh, I love this one. Tell me more about it.
Giving choices, we just love the fact that children with ADHD, they, because they're paying attention to everything at the same time, and oftentimes there's a whole bunch of choices, what we encourage is try and give choices, but perhaps think about what are the choices going to be that are going to help your child be most successful. So they're in control, they're deciding, but we're also thinking about as a parent, so what kind of choices am I gonna get them in a situation where I'm building self-esteem and I'm helping them understand what those choices mean.
Excellent, excellent. You talk about modeling anger management. Oh my gosh, this is important.
Yes. Well, this is important because your child needs to know that everybody gets angry.
Yes.
It's not, parents are not robots, and they do get angry. So you want to show them how you can handle your anger appropriately. You can use the words, name the emotions that you're feeling so that they then have the language. For instance, oh, I'm so frustrated that I can't get this picture to hang right. I'm going to give myself a break and walk away and come back to it later. You're teaching them exactly what you're feeling and exactly how you're going to handle it.
That's great, and I always tell parents it's definitely okay to let your child know how you feel about something. And when you get frustrated, it's okay to just kind of tense up a little bit, but very calmly and say, Mommy is really frustrated right now. I'm going to go in my room and I'm going to stay there until I count to 15, and when I come out, I'm going to feel better. And to try to go through that motion, not only to calm yourself down, but like you said, it sets an example for children, because you'll find that when you do these things in front of, especially younger children with ADHD, they model it. They start doing exactly what you're doing.
They absolutely do.
And the last one is teaching your child to be more assertive.
This one's a funny one. We get comments on this all the time. You know, what do you mean, my ADHD child, you want them to be more assertive? They already are. They're asserting themselves all the time. So what we think about with that one is teaching your child how they can speak up about what it is they need, help they need, if they're in a situation and it's not going in a positive direction. So how can they come up with the right words, the right language, the right body language, how they can put all of that together and then approach the situation in an assertive way, in an appropriate way.
One of the things you talk about is children with ADHD, they're very aware of everything going on.
Yes.
And oh my gosh, all it takes is one person to come up and talk to me when I'm listening to the generator noise and the refrigerator running, and I'm trying to think of doing all this stuff. And all I have to do is ask my wife. She'll start talking to me, and I'll go, I didn't hear you. I did not hear a word you said. Can you start over? So we kind of have this little thing where she makes a noise to let me know that she's coming to talk to me. So it's important for parents to understand that. They're going to get so much out of this book. I love this book. I'm going to read it again, and I'm going to put it on my recommended reading list for the parents that I work with, because teachers who are going to more likely run into children with ADHD, they can turn those into strategies that they can use in the classroom.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for coming on the show and helping us understand a little bit more about this disorder, and tell parents that it's not a lost cause. It's actually their child is going to have strengths that's going to be awesome when they get older.
Absolutely. We see it every day.
Wonderful. Now that you've got a new plan on getting your ADHD child to listen and cooperate a little bit more, let's switch gears and focus on our teens and their ability to manage money. Coming up in the next segment of the show, I'll be interviewing an English teacher with over 25 years of experience in the public schools who will help us get our teens on track with money management. Stay with us through the break. We'll be right back.